welcome to Creations with X. I'm X, and today I will be showing you how to crochet a granny square. So grab your hook and yarn, and let's get started. So this is basically how to crochet in the round. This is my first tutorial on it. So what we're going to do is basically you're going to start by, well, you can do multiple methods for this. I have previously done a tutorial on circular crocheting, how to start circular crocheting, so you can just pick one of those methods I have demonstrated and follow along. For this method, I will be doing a chain 2 and then single crocheting into the first chain. So I like to make my first one a little bit looser so I can easily get into it. So actually you're going to be chaining 3 because you're going to need to build up the height necessary to get in there. So first of all, you're going to just do 3 double crochets into the center. Actually, wait. And yeah, another little trick I like is to just kind of crochet over the tail, so I get it out of the way and can technically use it to tighten this circle at the end. Another good working method for this is the magic loop. I know many people use the magic loop for this, so you can also do that if you wish. So you're going to do 2 double crochet. You're going to have the chain 3, then do 2 double crochets. Now you're going to chain 2, or you can chain 3 if you feel like it. It doesn't really matter. Just chain 2, but I like to chain 2. So you're just going to go into here. Oh, but if you do decide to use a chain 3, make sure to keep it consistent. So you're going to do 3 double crochets into this part right here. In the first bit, the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So you're going to chain 3. You're going to chain 2 again. You're just going to go back and do another 3 double crochet into the center of that circle, that little loop that you have. Also, generally I find wrapping the little tail end around twice is enough to give it like enough tension, so to speak. Well, not tension, just like makes it nice and secure so when you pull it, it doesn't come undone. So then you're going to chain 2 again, and don't make these chains too tight either, because you don't want to be like, you don't want your work to be too tight. You don't want to strangle it. Well, maybe not strangle it, but like, you don't want it to be too tight so it kind of folds. You don't want them to be cinched together, so make it nice and loose, and then you're just going to do 3 more double crochet right here. So at the end you're going to have 11 double crochet total, and then count 12, and this one will count as 12. The 3 chain stitches you did first round. So then you're just going to chain 2 and slip stitch to the top of this chain 3. So if you look, you're going to find 1, 2, 3. And an easy way of identifying stitches is they're kind of like that shape. They're kind of like a right angle. So this stitch belongs to this one. This V belongs to this stitch, and this stitch and this V belongs to this stitch. So this one is the top of the chain 3, and we are going to slip stitch into that to join it. I can get it. This can be a bit tricky. Helps make your chains a bit looser so you're able to get it in more easily. But that is the first round of a granny square. So, now what you are going to do is slip stitch over 2, and you're going to chain 3 and do 3 half double crochet, or 5 half double crochet, chain 2 in this, or well, 2 half double crochet, chain 2, 3 half double crochet into this hole right here. And then after that, you are going to chain 2, and you're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 half double crochet into this gap. That's basically going to be the same thing for the rest of this round. So chain 3, chain 2, well, chain 2, sorry, not chain 3. Chain 2, then you're going to do 3 double crochets into this gap right here. It's fairly easy once you get the hang of it. If you wanted to, you could always like change color. Some people like changing colors after the first round, just like cutting off after doing the slip stitch, and then just cutting off after doing the slip stitch, and then just doing it right in here. Just doing it right into the gap. But I'm just doing one color. So, to do it into a gap, to just change colors and to go into one of these gaps, you would make a slip knot with a second color. Just do a chain, just have it on your hook already. Do a chain 1, and then you would just kind of just secure it, and then you just maybe like you do like 2 or 3 more chains. I forget, it's been a little while. I'll have to do a tutorial on that sometime in the future, how to change colors in your work. So that's a chain 3. Gonna do a chain 2. And just 3 more double crochets. So this is what your work might look like so far. If you are doing 3 chains instead of 2, it might look slightly differently. The gaps might be a bit bigger. The gaps would be a bit bigger, a bit more drapier, maybe, but 2 is good for me. Sometimes it also depends on how your tension is, because if you crochet with a very tight tension like this, you might need, it might be even tighter, starting to curl. If you crochet with a very loose tension, so you're kind of just like that, it might be a bit more loosey-goosey, looser. I believe I am more of a tighter, I like to crochet slightly tighter, so that's just me. If you have a problem if you have a tendency to crochet either tighter or looser, you might need to go up or down a hook size if it's making your yarn look weird. If you are a loose crocheter, you go down a hook size. You make your hook size smaller. If you are a loose crocheter, you go, tight crocheter, you go up a hook size. So your hook is bigger. So this is a hook. I believe it's around 5 millimeters. In millimeters. This is good for this. This is working well with this yarn and my tension, so it's fine. yeah, but just keep in mind that tight crocheters go with a bigger hook, loose crocheters go with a smaller one, just to keep tension even. But this is basically how it's done. There's also I feel the need to make a note of this. There's also a special type of pattern for or type of chart for when you crochet in the round. It's a bit like a graph, so to speak. At this point, you're just going to chain 2 and then slip stitch, but it's kind of like a graph. There's specific symbols representing stitches, and it's kind of like what I like to refer to as like the skeleton of a motif, because this is kind of like there are M-O-T-I-F. That's how it's spelled. But you're going to go into this chain right here. This is chain number 3. Slip stitch to join. Then you have this. If it looks a little wonky over here, you can always slip stitch over one more. For me, it's fine. But yeah, you're just going to want to move over. So you're just going to want to move over to that center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of slip stitch in there. See? It's moving it over. I'm going to chain 3, then do 2 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Again, if you were changing color, you would just join in on you could join in on any of these loops. You could do the middle one, you could do the end one, but basically, I'm just going to continue like so. This is single color. You could also simply cut the yarn that you're using, and if you didn't want to join in, you could just, join in another color. You wanted to keep using this one, but you didn't like slip stitching over. You could always just cut the yarn after your slip stitch, tie it off, and then keep going into just join in one of these with the same color. Oh, another thing about, this is something I just realized I've completely forgotten to mention in any of my other tutorials. When you are finishing off a work, the basic thing to do is just snip the yarn and pull through this loop you have. So you'd cut the yarn and then you'd just pull the cut tail through it. So just pretend this is like cut. And then you'd pull this end tight. So just pretend this one isn't here at all. That is how you would fasten off. Like a really good way of fastening off, not just like tying it like you might in sewing. I actually, I figured, it took a bit of trial and error when I was first starting out, but I figured out, yes, pulling it through the loop is much better than trying to tie a knot to get it to not come unraveled. But yeah, so you're just going to chain 2, double crochet 3 in the gap, and then you're going to chain 2 after this, and then do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. And you're just going to do that. Okay, so before I continue with that, I'm just going to show you what the work looks like so far. This is what it looks like. You're going to keep growing in gaps every round, and you're just going to crochet into them like you have been this one, or well. And remember to do the appropriate amount of chains and stitches in the gaps on the corner. That's how basically increase it. You're basically increasing slightly. You need to make sure that you're not skipping this step, because you need to increase. This is just increasing so your work doesn't like curl at the ends. You don't want it to curl or to kind of wave, because there's a difference. Curling is when you have too few stitches, so your work kind of goes like that. Waving is when you have too many and it kind of starts to wrinkle at the edges. So kind of like, be more like, just kind of like waves like that, sort of. It's not really doing much twisting at the moment, so that's how I know I haven't got too many. But if it's starting to like kind of wrinkle a bit, like ripple, that's when you have too many stitches, and you should probably maybe try to pare down a chain if you're doing like 3. If you're doing 3 chains, you should switch to 2 because that helps. But you're just going to keep going with your row around and keep going into these. So you're not going to actually crochet, apart from the slip stitches, into any other part than the chains, the chain loops, and you're going to go into it as if it's like just one giant stitch. You're not going to go into any of the individual chains, because that would be a bit hard. Also, there's only 2, or if you're doing 3, or you could also be doing 3. So if you only have that many, there's not going to be enough for the stitches. So as you can see here, just going to keep going in. And into here. It's really quite simple once you get the hang of it. It's just chaining and double crochets. You could actually probably do this with half double crochets if you wanted. Never tried that, but it sounds like it'd be an interesting project. So you're just going to want to keep going in. You can see how that's looking. And it appears I forgot to chain 2 over here. Oh well. If that happens, it shouldn't, if you accidentally forget, like, and that happens, it shouldn't be too big of a deal, but you definitely probably want to go back and change that. You could also, you could, if you really wanted to take the risk, also just work into the gap, but that's up to you. This is just simple, but like, see, I'm going into this stitch right here. You're going to want to do that for all of these, like, I'm not going to call them clusters, because, even though that's kind of what they look like, there's a different stitch called a cluster in crocheting, so we really don't want to get those confused. But I'm just going to leave it for now, since this is a tutorial, and it's not that big of a deal. Like, if this was an actual project, I would go back and redo it. But this is just for demonstration purposes. So it's not too pressing. But yeah, after that, just going to do 3. Yeah, well, 2 more, I guess. Chain 2. 3 more. Then after this, you're just going to slip stitch to the top. And this is basically just what you're going to be doing for the entirety of your granny square. It's a very simple pattern, pretty basic, good for practicing crocheting in the round with if you haven't, or you would like to work up some confidence. Pretty simple pattern. Just going to slip stitch into here. After this, it's really up to you. It's just going to continue the same way for the rest of the pattern. So, that is my tutorial on how to crochet a granny square. Good luck, and good luck with making your own and learning how. Thanks for watching.